Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Leverage Lab here at Drafting Out Loud. We're doing things a little different, something I've been working on. Figured we'd have fun with it. Hopefully, gain some insight in what we've been doing so far in the pre-draft. Compare it a little bit to the post-draft. We've drafted a couple, not a lot, but a couple, and see what's going on. So, I am going to pull up the Leverage Lab, which is right here. And this Leverage Lab is going to let us search any player that we've drafted so far on Underdog. We're going to be able to get a stack profile on the player that we have selected, and we're going to be able to see who we're drafting that player with and what teammates we're drafting that player with as well. And what we're going to do is we're going to go and look at at least the top player from each position that we've drafted on Underdog, and we're going to make sure it works as well, I guess. And we're going to compare actually pre NFL and maybe look at post NFL too and see what's going on. So we're going to look at four players at least in two different ways. So the first player we're going to look at here is our top QB. That is Jalen Hurts. 20% of our teams have Jalen Hurts. Hurts just seems underpriced, going a lot of times in like the 70s. And you could target him with Devonta Smith because chances are AJ Brown's going to get traded. So I kind of was hitting him hard a little bit early, and I hit him even harder later on. And so here he is. And this is what I did in the pre-draft. 20.83% of my teams. Yep, 20.8. Okay, so more accurate on the Leverage Lab than on Underdog. What say that? Drafted them 15 times. As you can see here, I stacked them all 15 times. That's nice. And on average, I have 2.6 extra players on the team with Jalen Hurts, 2.67 extra players. So that'd be him plus 2.67 others. So usually it's like a two or three person stack, and then with Jalen Hurts, so three or four people total. You can see that oftentimes I was stacking him with Dallas Goedert. 11 of my 15 teams have Dallas Goedert. I do have Eli Stowers on here too on three of them, so that's a nice coincidence right there. You can see that of the receivers, I was trying to hit hard with Devonta Smith 8 times. I did stack him with AJ Brown a couple times early, I believe, but then I kind of moved off of that and just focused on Devonta Smith. So hopefully we put the right bet in as far as that goes, and we get paid off in the pre-draft best ball with a lot of Devonta Smith as number one wide receiver stacks. I did not get any lemon with Jalen Hurts, unfortunately, and I did get a couple Dontavian Wicks teams with Hurts as well. That was more exciting pre-best ball, not as exciting post. Sorry, pre-draft, not as exciting post-draft. If we look over here, we can see what other players that we've drafted Hurts with, and you can see that I've been hitting. I got him 6 times, so I don't know what the right percentages are with this. That's something I got to think about and really kind of figure out what makes sense. Does it make sense to have Goddard on 73% of your Hertz teams? Goddard's so cheap, maybe it does, but maybe you say no, that's still on the extreme side. You shouldn't do that. I don't know. Uh, but of non-teammates, I got Stephon Diggs, Juwan Jennings, and then Terrence Ferguson, Tony Pollard. I feel good about the Diggs and Jennings. I also feel good about the Pollard, of course. Don't feel good about the Terrence Ferguson just because they drafted another tight end. Who knows what's going on over there? Got Flournoy on here a good amount of times for the division correlation. Got Scatabo on here a couple of times. I didn't draft a whole ton of them, but apparently I did try to hook him up for the division correlation with the Eagles, and a lot of Tyreek Hill for some reason too. 20% of my teams with Tyreek Hill. But interesting right there. It looks like it did a good job of stacking with Jalen Hurts. I'm glad that I got a bunch of Tony Pollard teams with him too, if you ask me. He's a big winner because they didn't draft draft love. Let's look at the post draft. Let's see if I drafted him post draft yet. So I've not drafted Jalen Hurts once post draft. Probably because I don't think I've drafted Devonta Smith at all because he was raised up so high. And because of that, I guess I just haven't gotten Hurts at all. Haven't drafted as many teams, obviously, either. So zero Jalen Hurts in the post draft so far. I have him a bunch of times in the pre draft. So there we go. That's Jalen Hurts. Let's go on to our next player. Next one we got here is another Eagle, Tank Bigsby. These number two running backs kind of priced down. And if there's one you want, like Saquon Barkley's backup, thank you very much. Why not? So obviously drafting a lot of them. A quarter of my teams almost have him. 22.22. Yep. It checks out in the pre-draft best ball, 22% of my teams. You can see that I have him stacked on 11 of the 16. So stacked doesn't mean with the quarterback, it just means with a teammate. But I do have him with Jalen Hurts on 5 of the teams. 1.8 teammates, or sorry, yeah, 1.8 teammates on average, and then 2.64 when stacking. So this kind of takes into account like all of them, even the ones that were unstacked. This is just the ones that have stacks. So this one's counting only the 11 stacked drafts, while this one here is counting all 16 stacks, or all 16 drafts. You can see I stacked the most with Dallas Goedert, Devonta Smith, and then Jalen Hurts was the 5th one on that list. Just kind of taking them. I think I did kind of target him a little bit with Jalen Hurts, but I was just targeting him overall. I even have 3 Tank Bigsby, Saquon Barkley teams, and I know a lot of people don't do that kind of stuff. You can see that I did it at a decent clip. I did it at 18.75% of the time. So 1 out of every 5 times I drafted Saquon Barkley, it looks like I also drafted Tank Bigsby relatively often. Looks like oftentimes I went with later tight ends. You can see I got Pat Freiermuth as um my highest correlated player, and oftentimes I probably stacked Pat Freiermuth with Aaron Rodgers. I was doing that a lot right there. Probably my guess is most likely that when I was getting Devonta Smith, or sorry, when I was getting like Jalen Hurts, Devonta Smith, things like that, or Dallas Goedert, I was probably going with like later round tight ends. Um, or just kind of tacking on a third one because I felt like my team was good enough. So a lot of Pat Freiermuth with that. Emmett Johnson to KC, I got a lot of him on these teams as well. Anything else of interest that we want to see here? Where's our Tony Pollard exposure with him, if any? Not much Tony Pollard. You can see that I don't have high Tony Pollard exposure with him. Jalen Brooks is rising up the board. Here's Jauan Jennings and Stefon Diggs again. Have him a lot with Tank Bigsby also. So there you go. That is, Aaron Jones. He should be rising up the board if you ask me on 3 of the teams. Let's see if I've done any post-draft with Tank Bigsby. I got him on 1 of my teams. That means I got 5 teams right now that I've drafted post-draft. AJ Brown is an Eagle right now, so he's showing up over here. And because I've only drafted once, that's my whole team that I drafted right there. You can tell me if it's a good team or a bad team that I drafted. It looks like it was a Green Bay, Minnesota team with Justin Jefferson stack and double stack with Jordan Addison as well. I got Tony Pollard on it, like we were talking about. Got AJ Brown on it. That's why there's that stack right there. Who do I have from Green Bay? I got Chris Brooks. I got Christian Watson. There we go. That is that team. Not that we're looking at that. So one team with Tank Bigsby on it. Let's go look at our top wide receiver pre-draft. We got Chris Godwin on 1 out of every 4 teams, basically. Went hard on Chris Godwin is what we did. Very almost uncomfortably hard on Chris Godwin. Clip that. Okay. So we have him on 20 teams, 27.78. Is that what we got here? Yeah. There we go. So it's rounded up a little bit, right? It's not 27.8, it's 27.78. We got stacked on 11 of them. We got him stacked with this QB on 6 of them. I don't know if that's I don't know. Again, I don't know what the right amount is, but you can see that is essentially 30% of the teams are stacked with Baker. I think that works. Why not? We're stacking it when we can. We're probably not like overstacking it, like pulling Baker up a billion picks. So I think that kind of makes sense. There's a decent amount of competition for Baker to get that stack. On average, Chris Godwin has got a teammate on his team one time, so like him and one other player. But when I do end up stacking him with other Tampa Bay players, I end up with three Tampa Bay, three Tampa Bay players total. Chris Godwin and two others. Kate Otten, I got him stacked with Kate Otten the most, and Baker Mayfield, and Kate Otten the most. And yeah, I was hitting Kate Otten early, and then when there was kind of like news or talk about Tampa Bay taking another tight end, I kind of slowed down on that a bit. But a decent amount of Cade Otten. I got him with Ted Hurst twice. I didn't draft much Ted Hurst at all, so I got lucky on that one right there. Jalen McMillan once, Egbuka three times, Bucky once, Tez Johnson once as well. So that's nice. I got some nice combinations probably of Tampa Bay players. You're going to see Stephon Diggs a lot because I think he was also one of my higher wide receivers. Is he on this list? Yeah, right there. 19.4% of my teams have Steph Diggs. So you're going to see him a lot. He's my highest exposure with Chris Godwin. He oftentimes made it that right-hand side of the board, and that's kind of where his ADP was most of the time. Got a lot of Jordan Mason with him, and he was kind of on the left-hand side of the board, I think. So I'm not sure how I ended up with so much Jordan Mason with Chris Godwin. Maybe it's because I didn't stack him as much. So Chris Godwin got to the left, got a lot of Jordan Mason, got to the right, didn't get as much Jordan Mason. A lot of Emmett Johnson with them, one out of every three teams, basically. Not digging the Colby Parkinson right here. Again, that's that I liked that click before. I don't like that click as much anymore. There's Tank Bigsby, a lot of Tank Bigsby, a lot of Brian Robinson as well. I was doing a lot of those, like I said, these types of running backs there. Um, Anyone others? Your Jonathan Brooks, four teams there. He's a nice riser. Devonta Smith, four times. He's a nice riser as well. Don't see anyone else really of note on here. Trying to think who are the division correlations for Tampa Bay. Is KC one of them? I'm having a hard time thinking that off the top of my head. Who are the division correlations? Let's see here. Let's pull it up. See if I can pull it up this way really quick. Brief timeout to see. I guess that's something I could do on in here is somehow highlight that as well. That might be a good idea. But with Tampa Bay, we have Carolina, Atlanta, New Orleans. So we do have the teams here. Atlanta. So we do have Brian Robinson stacked up a bunch of times, but not really the best type of stack with him. Carolina, Atlanta, New Orleans. Jonathan Brooks, we're getting a lot of the running backs with him. We didn't do a whole lot of, and then Jalen Coker as well. Didn't draft a lot of them, but I got him three times with Godwin. So there you go. And Coker actually ended up a winner, I think, in the draft. Not saying that his ADP should rise a ton, but he's a winner in the draft. Let's see, post draft, have I gotten him? One time. Okay. And I have him stacked up with Baker, Igbuka, Kate Otten, and Jalen McMillan. So um, pretty heavy Tampa Bay stack, as you can see here. Average, since there's only one team, there's four players plus Chris Godwin. So 1, 2, 3, 4 plus Chris Godwin. So that checks out there as far as that goes. And there's the team that we have right there. This team has a free agent Debo and a free agent Aaron Rodgers, big Tampa Bay stack, and and then we had Jaden Daniels, Aaron Rodgers, and Baker Mayfield on this team. So we tacked on probably Aaron Rodgers towards the end of the draft on this one. Okay, who do we have next? Who do we have next? Oh, Pat Fryermuth. There we go. And then Dallas Goedert's number two. Look at that. Let's go to Pat Fryermuth. Here he is. Pre-draft, 22.22% of my teams. Yep, checks out. 22.22%. Drafted him 16 times, have him with another Steeler 9 times, and have him with Aaron Rodgers 7 times. So I was just kind of at the end of the drafts trying to like be like, okay, why not take another QB? Let's get Aaron Rodgers. Let's get Pat Freiermuth to kind of get my last tight end and my last QB type of thing. And so these are going to be more skinny stacks oftentimes with Pat Freiermuth. In fact, you can see here that on average, I have one other teammate with him, and then when I do end up stacking him, it's not even two, right? So oftentimes it's just like Aaron Rodgers, Pat Freiermuth, and nothing else. You can see that I have 7 teams out of my 9 stacked teams, right? So that makes sense. Most of the time here, it's Aaron Rodgers is the one, and then the 0.89 is some other random like running back or wide receiver. And maybe it's no, it's I don't have the rookie Bernard at all on any of these pre-draft ones with the Steelers. So that's a little unfortunate. You can see almost half my teams, right? 7 out of 16 are with Aaron Rodgers. So I do have Pat Freiermuth with Pittman a decent amount and Warren a decent amount. And I guess, whatever, 2, 2, 3, 3, 7. So a lot of skinny stacks though, Rodgers and Freiermuth. You can see here, like these same players that we were hitting on a lot. Tank Bigsby, Stephon Diggs is on there again. Dallas Goedert, who is our highest tight end, is on there as well. Who's in Pittsburgh's? So Baltimore, Cincinnati, Cleveland. Baltimore, Cincinnati, Cleveland. Not really. So I didn't really kind of do this stack with a lot of intention for the beginning of the draft. So I wasn't really trying to get back stacks with it. It's more like, hey, there are a lot of things that probably don't give me as much, benefit as just this Steelers thing. So let me just do this at the end of the draft. I didn't care if I had other Steelers on the team or not. I just kind of did it. So let's see if I've done it post. I think I might have done it once. Nope, I haven't done it all on DK. Maybe I did it on DK, not on Underdog. But I haven't drafted Pat Freiermuth once yet in the post drafts. Let's go through one. I'm kind of having fun with this. I don't know if you're having fun with this, but I'm having fun with this. Let's go look at one more player. Caleb Williams, 13.9. Oh, that's high. That is high. I I think Caleb Williams is getting overdrafted because there's just so many Bears that are competing for his services in the draft. And so I'm drafting the Bears a decent amount. I like Colston Loveland a lot. And so there's so many players in that range that are so ugly that I just kind of go with it. I do feel like he's overpriced, but I feel like the players that go after him as far as like position players are kind of ugly. So I just take Caleb Williams and just be happy with it, basically, type of thing. So you can see in the pre-draft, I drafted Caleb Williams 10 times, 13.89% of my teams. That's right, that checks out right there. I stacked him in all 10 of the drafts. And that makes sense because I usually draft a bear, and then after drafting a bear, you would then draft Caleb Williams with like the next pick or the pick after that. So you can see I did stack him with Colston Loveland the most, and then Rome, Luther equal at 4-4. And then I don't think I just purposely just backstack to backstack, but if Kyle Monangai fell or something like that, I might take him as well. I'm not really drafting much Kyle Monangai. It would be nice to have Swift on one of these teams, but it's just near impossible without really pulling people up to get Swift on the team as well. Hammering Rashee Rice at this time, apparently. When I was doing this, I don't recall going after Bears at the same time as Rashee Rice. I felt like those were 2 separate times, but the numbers don't lie. So a lot of Rashee Rice on Caleb Williams teams, I was getting him probably at which I guess makes sense, right? Caleb Williams oftentimes is going at the front half of the draft. Rashee Rice, if you took him later on in the pre-best ball, you're getting him either at the end of the second, beginning of the third, which is on the left-hand side of the board as well. So it makes sense that it's happened a lot right there. Three Tony Pollard teams, four Jonathan Brooks teams. Any other, some NFC North correlation, Aaron Jones, Tucker Kraft, high exposure, Jordan Mason, Jordan Addison, Josh Jacobs a little bit. So there you go. Nice to see the potential division correlation in case you get that, week 17 thing as well. You can see the drafts I've done for the pre-best ball 7, and then let's go look post-draft. I've done 5 total right now, and I have not drafted any Caleb Williams at all yet in any of those 5 drafts. Well, okay, let's go look at another running back. Aaron Jones. His name's popped up a lot. I did draft a ton of Aaron Jones. I thought he'd be rising more because I felt like he was a winner, but he hasn't risen as much as I expected. So maybe his is just like a slow burn. He'll rise later, or maybe I was just wrong and I totally misread the market on that one. We will find out which one. I feel like why would I be wrong on that? I don't know, but maybe I was. Um, I thought Aaron Jones had some juice left after last year, and he still can catch. He does have a pass catching back that they drafted, and I think some people, for some reason, think the sixth round running back that they drafted is a huge threat. Traditionally, a sixth round running back shouldn't be a threat to more established running backs. But I know that Claiborne, kind of is a name. There is Damon Claiborne. I do have him on one of these teams pre-draft. I drafted him a couple times. I don't think a whole ton. But anyways, 15 times Aaron Jones. Stacked him up 9 of those 15 times. Got him with Kyler Murray 6 times. I like that just because Aaron Jones, again, is the pass catcher. And on average, when I did end up stacking Aaron Jones, it's like 2 Minnesota guys with 2 Minnesota guys with Aaron Jones. You can see here the Kyler Murray more than any of the other players. I did do the same thing that I did with the Eagles, where I got the 2 Minnesota guys. Aaron Jones, Jordan Mason. I did it twice. I did it mainly when I draft one and then all the way around came the next one. So like, 10, 15, 12, or like 12 picks later, right? Like he'd show up, but okay, I'll take them. I'll get both of them. That's kind of how I did that. I didn't like pull them both up. I more just let them fall to me. And if it happened, I took it and I was happy about it. You can see that speaking of NFC North, I got Kyler Murray, again, the stack, then Caleb Williams. I think that's nice, the pass catching running back with this. So if it's a high scoring game, maybe Aaron Jones is more run there. Loveland, Wicks would have been a bring back, but he's on Philly now. There's Rome, another Chicago guy, Juwan Jennings, who's been a staple of all of these teams, basically. Justin Jefferson team. Stefon Diggs, who's been a staple. There's Tony Pollard. Nice to see him on the list right there. Not much else as far as bringbacks on here. It's hard to, like it's you don't want to do too much with the bringbacks because you don't know what's going to happen, but it can be a tiebreaker type of thing. Let's see if I've taken him post draft. I feel like I have. Let's see, twice. Okay, so 2 out of my 5 teams, so 40% of my teams. I've not stacked him with Kyler Murray at all. I've gotten him with Jordan Addison and Jordan Mason. Looks like one team had Jordan Addison, one team had Jordan Mason. So I've even done the Aaron Jones thing, Jordan Mason thing once post draft. Got Debo on both the teams, got Pollard on one of the teams. Any other NFC North going on so far? Juwan Jennings, so still drafting him. Josh Jacobs for some NFC North action. That looks like about it. There you go. So I still am drafting him. Like I said, I don't know why he didn't rise up. He's someone that I'm kind of taking still. Wide receivers. Travis Hunter on 25% of the teams. What? That seems a little crazy. These wide receiver, I don't know. He is the second pick of the draft, right? Last year. If he ends up, you're hoping for if he gets like 2 spike weeks, does he pay off or something like that? I have my 25% of the teams. Is that what it said here too? Get 25%. There you go. Stacked him up with other players a third of the time and got him with Lawrence about a quarter of the time. You can see right there, have him with Chris Rodriguez, Brian Thomas a couple times, Brenton Strange a couple times. Jacoby Bichelle, and even LaQuint Allen one time. There was he must be there was one team I did a video on this where I got Chris Rodriguez, Bichelle two, and LaQuint Allen on the same team. So that team probably has Trevor Lawrence, Chris Rodriguez, Bichelle two, LaQuint Allen, and at least Travis Hunter. So it's a pretty big stack for that team right there. Jacksonville. Let's see any players of note. You can see a lot of the same players. Tank Bigsby. You can see it basically what you can see here in these pre-draft ones. I was definitely had my guys that I was taking, and I was hitting on them a lot. A lot of Aaron Jones here, a lot of Tank Bigsby, a lot of Pat Freiermuth, a lot of Tucker Kraft. I think he might be my second tight end. We'll see here in a second. As far as Jacksonville, they pair up with Houston, Indianapolis, Tennessee. Jaden Higgins four times. Tajay Spears three times. There you go. I like it. Last but not least, tight. Oh, we got to look at post draft. Have I done anything post draft with Travis Hunter? Nope, haven't gotten a post draft yet on my 5 teams. Last but not least, tight end. Oh, Dallas Goedert is my Tucker Kraft's my third one. So Dallas Goedert is my second tight end. Let's go look at Dallas Goedert. Okay. 14 times drafted, 19.44% of the teams. Checks out, 19.4. There we go. Stacked him every single time. Got him with the QB 11 of my 14 times. We knew it was high. It was very high, 78.57% of the time. I was stacking him at the very beginning, even when he wasn't supposed to go to the team. Not because I was like, oh, I know better. It was just like, well, I don't know where he's going. I need a tight end. Why not just in case, right? And so that, I guess, worked out a little bit in my favor. Since I stacked him in every single draft, these numbers are going to be the same. That makes sense. So basically, whenever I drafted Dallas Goedert, I had 3 other Eagles that went along with him. So I'm kind of betting on, you can see that I'm betting kind of heavy on the Eagles here to have a good season. And we'll see. This will be the determining factor for my pre-draft best ball a little bit, is what the Eagles do. I guess what the Vikings do as well, maybe too, right? A lot of Aaron Jones. We saw a decent amount of Kyler Murray, that kind of stuff. But Dallas Goedert, I ended up getting him stacked up even with Eli Stowers twice. So I got the tight end duo there. See if that helps out at all. Stephon Diggs, Jauan Jennings. Again, you're going to see a lot of those players. There they are. Chris Godwin, we looked at him. Pat Freiermuth, looked at him. Tony Pollard on a lot of these teams. 4 of the teams are Tony Pollard. That's nice to see. As far as like a winner goes, Dallas, Washington, New York Giants. Cam Scatabo 3 times. I think we saw him because was he on the teams with Jalen Hurts or something like that too, I think. That is about it as far as potential bringbacks there. Tyreek Hill's on 3 of the teams. Stephon Diggs again is there too. I don't see Jauan Jennings on this one. Jadarian Price, I didn't draft a lot of him, but for some reason, he's on 3 of my Dallas Goedert teams. So there you go. Some value there as well. I don't know how thrilled I am. I'm not as thrilled to get him like that late and get the value. That being said, I didn't draft a lot of him. I can tell you that much right there. That is the Leverage Lab. I'm sure I had more fun doing this than you did, but give me your feedback. What's your opinion of what you saw? You saw my exposures. Are there any that are totally out of line that I got to get better at? You see how I'm stacking the players. Is there anything that I'm in your opinion, understacking or overstacking? Like what should thresholds be in that? I'm not 100% sure, but if you stuck around until the end, I appreciate that you did. Let me know and see you on the next one. Peace.